And we get the recording in progress. And we should be live on Facebook right now. Hey, welcome to For Frick's Sake Marketing Adventures with Carmel. And today with Kerryn as well, who I will introduce to you in just a moment. So marketing, For Frick's Sake Marketing Adventures is on YouTube. It's also here on Facebook. So if you're watching me on Facebook, make sure you hop over to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe, because we're going to be bringing you more tips, tricks, and how to get your business seen by the right people with the right message at the right time, and bringing you some awesome people like the beautiful Kerryn today, that we get a sneak peek into the person behind the business. We have this illusion, I think, as business owners, that it goes like this, success, but it actually is much more like this. So we open up the little cracks and we see the business owners that are being successful and doing some great things, and some of their journey. And I'm really excited today with Kerryn, because we were talking just before this, and I love how a stint of despair can bring you to a successful business. So we'll get to that in just a moment, but allow me to introduce Kerryn properly and not just assume. So Kerryn is an international speaker and author, facilitator, and podcast host, just in case you had any time. And I'm going to let her tell you in a few more minutes. There is a little bit more I want to tell you about how busy that she was today. But that's it. Kerryn has an award-winning book called Magnificent Kids, which was part of the catalyst to founding her global organization, which is One Planet Classrooms. But again, I'll let Kerryn go more into that. But in 2018, she launched Girls with Hammers. I love this. I want to know some more about it. And the second book then, that led into the second book, which is Get Off the Bench. And that's how the podcast came to life, which is called Get Off the Bench too, if I'm right, Kerryn.
Yep.
And a number of, as she says, false starts and a stint of despair. So Kerryn, welcome, and thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you. My absolute pleasure. If you see beads of sweat dripping off me, it's not because I'm nervous. I've been chasing donkeys.
And she means that literally. This is the funny thing. Entrepreneur, I'll just go and do an interview. Hang on, I'll just go and chase the donkeys and put them into their stable first. Oh no, I'm like that with geese and chickens and ducks and whatever. So I get it. Not quite as big as the animals, of course. So look, first and foremost, before we get into everything, tell us a little bit about Kerryn and how Kerryn became to where she is. So we've talked about, you have the books now, but what's the passion, or why did you do this?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, it's a long story. I'll keep it short. Basically, I was, like an inventor when I was a kid, always coming up with ideas. My ideas were poo-pooed all the time. Teachers were like, oh, yeah, good on you, Vaughanie. The rocks fall out of your head and all sorts of stuff like that. And yeah, I know. And, I found music, and, what I found in music was that I was celebrated. Like there's nobody poo-pooing my ideas. It was kind of like, yeah, the Tom Jones thing. Yeah. So I stayed in that because it was really ego fulfilling, and it was fantastic. But and then when I was 35, my sister got cancer, and then I sort of went into this 5-year journey to, well, how am I going to save her? Because I'm the oldest, she was the second youngest. That was my job, and I employed witch doctors and you name it, anything to save her, but I didn't. And so I took that as a personal failure. I took that as, well, I failed. If I can't save my sister, then I'm no good. So it took me 11 years. What happened then was I went and decided to work in a nursery because I thought I could hide behind the plants, and no one has to talk to me, and I can just hide from the world. But that didn't work. The boss was a bitch. She yelled at me and yelled at the staff, yelled at a customer, so I locked her in the shed. And well, that was my solution. And I know she got out. I saw her in Coles. It's I think this is part of who I am. When something doesn't suit me, I bang
it in the shed.
Bang the door. That's it. And but then I was asked to be part of the Relay for Life, which is the Cancer Council, raising awareness and funds for research. And so I think the town sort of rallied around me and pulled me in and said, "Do you want to do this? Like a legacy TSSD, So I took on 3 roles, being the overachiever. It's kind of like, well, I won't just take on one; I'll take on the whole lot, and then all my problems will be resolved. But
Of course.
of course they weren't. And what I did find out is that how fantastic it felt to think beyond myself. Like when my sister got cancer, that was the first sort of opportunity for me to really think beyond myself and what can I do. But prior to that, I was like being a rock star, and there's only one person in the world, and that's Kerryn. So but then I got this opportunity to to feel how good it felt to serve others.
Yeah.
And so I went on a bit of a quest looking for more of that. And it took me 11 years, to be honest. I started working in teaching people to work with people with disabilities. I became an autism behavior specialist, started working in schools. They kept saying things like, fix these kids. I thought, wow, the kids aren't broken. The system's broken. And then I sort of started to realize that kids really had the answer, and the kids are the ones that were going to listen and change the future. So that's when I wrote the book Magnificent Kids. And
beautiful.
It was kind of a real issue, a real thing for me, because it was the first time I ever really stuck to one project and got one project completed, and
didn't lock it in the shed.
yeah, that's right. Or without 100 other projects going at the same time. And and then anyway, inadvertently, I had my book launch, and a guy in Africa saw the book on a photo of a friend, and so I sent the book over to him, and he wanted to start a magnificent class. And then I jumped in and said, well, why don't I get a kid in the book to Skype with your class? And and then it was kind of like, well, why don't we get a class in Africa to Skype with a class in Australia? It was all really good, right? And I jumped in, as I do, and so ended up getting 30 laptops donated from friends on Facebook. It's kind of like, oh, shoot, what am I going to do with 30 laptops? I'll have to start a business. And back then, I didn't even know about not-for-profits. I didn't even know how to start one. I didn't even think I should. But, and so then I ended up sending the laptops over to Africa. That was just a nightmare in itself. That was just beyond, I did it, but I was going to say beyond my capacity. It wasn't, but it was hard, really hard. But I ended up sending laptops to a country where, 95% of them don't even have power. And, the kids were asleep and in bed, in school at the odd times, and they were never going to be able to Skype. So it was a massive failure. But what that led me to, I spoke to all the teachers that were enrolled, and they told me all the girls one's collecting water, and the girls were being sexually assaulted and abused, on the way to get the water. And so I guess at that point, you come to say, well, did I fail, or is this a perfect opportunity to pivot, and do something else? And so now we put in water tanks and solar systems, and we build women's empowerment projects, and got a sponsorship program and all that. So when you look at it, it's what a blessing in the failure, And,
that's it. What a blessing the failure was. We don't always see the gift in it. Yeah.
Exactly. When we're talking about stints of despair, I actually think they're good. I think they're good. We've got to ride through them, because something great always comes out at the other end. And
I think it's been years ago I reframed that discomfort to, it's like sometimes I just throw my eyes up and go, happy days, something new's going to happen. I know it's uncomfortable right now, but when you bring it, can you put it in a neon sign so I can bloody see it? But it's that discomfort is getting out of your comfort zone. It's getting out of what you're used to.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. So after you did that,
all right, take a breath. I know, I'm freaking hot. Then I started to really focus on girls, and wanted to bring more attention to the gender gap, and just particularly girls sexualizing themselves, and being submissive, and thinking that that's the good jobs are for the boys, and we just get paid. So I kind of really got stuck into this. And anyway, I was at an International Women's Day event, and I had found this card on the table, and said, I will launch a purposeful female-focused initiative. Well, I got up in front of 300 women and waving this card around, and then got off the stage and thought, oh, shit, I've done it again. Now I've got to do something else. Anyway, Girls with Hammers was born. It was going to be in schools, but the teenagers didn't really care for my message. But we had a conference, and we found that it was women 45 to 65 who felt disconnected, or who wanted some, not all of them, but it was providing connection for a lot of women. And so that's our market, we love them to bits. And anyway, and then I talked at a lot of conferences around the world, around the place, and talking about all these stories in a bit more depth than this. And one of the guys at a Hero Roundtable conference, he said, "Can you run a workshop?" And I said, "Yeah, what on?" Starting a project. And I said, "What are you asking me for? I got no idea how to start a bloody project." And then he just looked at me like I had two heads. And I said, "Oh, yeah, okay, maybe I do." And so I did the workshop, and me being, again, overachiever, I said to everyone, "I'll send you a PDF, give me your email, I'll send you a PDF with more info." And I started writing the more info the next day, and it ended up being a book, so it ended up with the Get Off the Bench book. And so that's where that got to, and then started being workshops and all that kind of stuff. And then do you want to ask anything at this point, or
I'll keep asking. I was just saying, if you take a breath. No, I love it, and your passion is shining through. And I do love that you bring that pivot into it, because I think as entrepreneurs and business builders, there is a time to pivot. It's the fear of pivoting sometimes that holds us back, and sitting again in that failure. It's not failure. Oh my God, I have face planted so many times. It's just not funny. And that's what I call it, falling forward. I just keep going forward, explore forward, see what happens, see what sticks. But also, I love how honest you are about, "Oh, well, that didn't work. Well, that didn't work." Where so many people have an illusion when they're looking at somebody else, and particularly women as well. They go, "Oh, but she has it all sorted. She's perfect. She has it all together." We all have our own shit going on, every one of them. Nothing is ever perfect. So I do honor you, and thank you so much for your honesty. But yes, I do have some questions. So one of the things is, what is success to you? How would you describe success to you?
Well, success to me is how much of an impact I make in the world. I live by the philosophy that I want to plant the tree of the shade that I'll never sit under. It'd be nice to, but I don't think I ever will. And I think that, if I can leave this planet better than, it was better because I was here, and people have become empowered and inspired to believe that they can be their best, then that's success to me. Of course, I want to make money, and of course, all that sort of stuff. But that's my big measure of did I succeed? And
and that's actually, if you look at the surveys that have been done on people on their deathbeds, it's never been about, "I wish I had more money," or "I wish I had worked more." It's about that purpose. It's about that having meaning in their life, spending more time with loved ones, helping more people. It's very much, that's the theme about it.
Yeah.
So before we go into other questions, so tell me about, and this is the title of the interview, you did mention a stint of despair, is something that kind of, triggered some stuff. Are you happy to share what that stint of despair was, and how it has led you to building your business even more successfully?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it kind of came left field, and it's when we had I've got Get Off the Bench, and I'm running workshops, and then I was like, I had a podcast a couple of years ago, Kerryn with Bumble Show, and that didn't work because he lived in Tassie, and back then when Zoom wasn't kicking in. It was so great. Anyway.
Oh dear, why didn't we get shares in Zoom right then? But anyway.
And so, but anyway, that fizzled out. But then I thought, I'm going to do my own podcast eventually on what, I don't know. But then Get Off the Bench started, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll do a podcast on Get Off the Bench. And it was kind of like, I'll get going. And what I'm so glad I got a hiccup. I'm so glad I got this, because I would have kept going on this trajectory of just one more project.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Never happy. And I don't mean that never happy, because I am happy, but it's always that. what else?
Yeah.
That thinking and that feeling of frustration, like there's something missing, which is what I always felt. Anyway, so I was about to launch the podcast at the end of 2019. And then my youngest sister, so there's the second youngest had died from cancer. The youngest had a cardiac arrest right 3 days before Christmas. It was like far out, and we didn't expect that she would live. And if she did, we expected she'd have really severe brain damage.
Yeah.
She lived and she's got no brain damage. So
Wow.
I don't know how that happened, but somehow she
It happened.
Actually, they say the hospital said that because she did Pilates, she was a Pilates instructor, that her fitness actually contributed a lot to her success. So that's good. So then I was kind of like, well, let's put that now. And then I started to just pick back up after about a week and thought, she's okay. No, I'm going to start this thing. And then we had the fires, in East Gippsland. Can you believe it? We had the fires, and now tonight we're facing floods, and I'm drenched. You got no idea
Extremes.
what you can't see below the surface. I mean, my shoes are full of water, and anyway, whatever. But
and you still showed up. How amazing is that?
That's the secret to success. Never let anyone down. But
being consistent and showing up. Yeah,
that's it. So I then the fires came, and the fires, that was what did me. The fires. We talk about trauma, from bushfires and stuff like that, and we were so close, and yet we were, I don't know, 50 k's away, but that's not far. When the whole half of the state is on fire and you're the next town. It's
absolutely.
And so we're having our own stresses about, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to protect our animals? What can we do? And so you got all this that's constantly churning in your mind. But then as I watched it unfold and had many friends fighting the battle and losing stuff, and it was I started to, the thing that hit me was the animals, and I'm big animal rights advocate, and I've that was part of writing Magnificent Kids too, because adults wouldn't listen to me about protecting animals and kids would. And as it sort of grew and there was 1 billion animals, I started to break down. I actually, started to break, and thinking about the koalas, and they can't get out of there. And then I got angry. It's a bloody government, and nobody cares about climate change. I don't even know what the reason was, but I just started, I guess, hating everyone. I was just angry with humanity, and I guess there was a lot of conflict because I spent my whole life helping humanity, and then I started hating humanity. What are humans done to this planet? And it even breaks me now thinking about it. But then I felt helpless, and my whole life, everything. Well, since for the last, I don't know how many years, has been helping people. So I trying to give my clothes to the centres where they have the people staying, and no, we don't need any more. Trying to offer driving people, no, we don't need any more. It was kind of like rejection after, not that it was personal, but when you're in that.
But you feel it personal when you're in that. Right.
Yeah. And then I offered to work with a volunteer with an animal rescue thing, because I thought, great, I'll volunteer and find injured animals, and then I'm going to feel like I've helped the animal. No, that was a rejection too. And it was just like, I just went into this complete state of despair and thought, what's the point of anything? Everything I've built, all these successful things, it just mean nothing. Like they didn't mean anything to me, because it was like, in the biggest moment that I want to help, I can't. I'm useless, and so send me on this downward trajectory that I've got nothing to offer and all that sort of stuff. And I think that I just became so angry, and then my partner said, you better do something with this anger, because you're going into a bad place. And and then I said, I want to do the podcast. How the hell can I do the podcast? Oh, everybody should get off the bench when half the state's on fire, half the country's on fire. And so I had this sort of what's the point? And then I just got myself back on my feet and said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this because this is my way of helping. If I can inspire other people to help, then maybe if I can't help, they can. And then bloody COVID hit, and it's like,
oh God, damn it.
you know, like who's now we're all in lockdown. Who cares about getting off the bench? No, everyone's losing their jobs, and you know, and it was just this downward bloody spiral. And I ended up saying, no, screw it. I'm going to put it out there because somebody needs to hear it, and
Yeah.
I can do something. And this is the only thing I can give at the moment. You know, that I don't have to be in a workplace. I don't have to be training. You know, I can just sit there at my desk and I can bring a message to the world. So
yeah,
it was a real blessing because it kicked it in. But I'll allow you to have a question there if you like. Before I get to
that's okay. Look, and again, I love your frankness and your honesty and your vulnerability. You could definitely see the emotion changing as you were saying it. And look, I relate to some of it. I lost a sister. I always feel weird when I say I lost a sister. It's like I didn't lose her. I know where she is. From cancer as well, and it has been it's 5 years ago, but 6.5 to her from her diagnosis. Definitely has been a pivot, a huge pivot.
Yeah.
Because you kind of go, okay, you know, none of us are getting out of here alive, as morbid as it sounds, but we're not. So what do I want people to say or think or do when I'm not here? What impact do I want to make on those people?
Yeah.
And it certainly takes, for me anyway, took the fear out of a lot of steps. It's like, well, what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to die anyway. But not in a morbid way, but it's like,
yeah.
You know, people will stop talking about me eventually because they'll go on to talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing. So now that you're doing what you're doing and the podcast and you have your book and workshops and that, what do you find that most women come to you for, or what is their biggest, most common stuckness?
Lack of confidence.
Confidence.
It's always that, you know, I want to do something, but self-doubt, you know, I don't believe I can. I don't know who's going to listen to me. You know, it's always that. And it's always, they just need a push. They just need a push. And I always talk about courage. Don't worry about confidence. Just don't worry about that. You need courage. You need courage to take those few steps. And once you've taken them, everything will start to fall into place. You know,
and
some do, some don't.
Yeah. Do you think, because I would say the same, you know, I do see that absolutely. Do you think that people know that it's confidence, or do you think they're just know there's something?
No, I think most think it's confidence. You know, I just
okay.
don't have the confidence to do it. And
I don't think I can, those limiting beliefs and
underneath is self-doubt and fear and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But they call it confidence on the top, but it's just what doesn't work, you know. And
and what are the consistent challenges that they're facing because they haven't got their confidence? Like what's their word experience that drives them to go and get some help, or to say, hey, I need to change something? What are they experiencing?
You know, I think that for most of them it's mid-40s, you know, but not all of them. And it's kind of like, well, the kids are grown up. I'm sitting here on the couch looking at my husband thinking, shit, is that all I've got left?
You know, I love him, but I don't actually like him that much.
And it's kind of like, well, who am I? You know, who am I? And I've had a dream, and what's happened to all my dreams? They've disappeared. I've put them on the back burner for the kids, for the husband. What about me? You know, it's a sort of a sudden kind of wake up, like, hang on, what about me? It's not kind of like, well, I've got this dream that needs to be, it's not that. It's often, what about me? And I don't even know who I am anymore, but I know I deserve better. You know, and it's,
I think that's the key. It's that I know I deserve better. Because otherwise it's just into that despair, isn't it? Until you hit that, I know I deserve better. And it is so common. And I quite often have said to my clients, it's like, well, who am I without? Who am I without the kids? Who am I without the husband? Who am I without the animals? Like, who am just I? And it can be quite often a very confronting and difficult question to answer in that age group. You're spot on. You're going, right. I've done society tells us we have to sacrifice now for something later, which is bullshit, but that's a whole other webinar. So we believe, and particularly like I can relate to my childhood, for example, being Irish. I was brought up in a Catholic household. Not that that's good, bad, or indifferent, but the meme, if you like, was sacrifice now, do what you're told, do this, do that, and work hard and everything will be all right. They said, so you do. You put your kids first. Yeah, I ended up a single mom. Not that I would change anything either, put my kids first, but I did wake up like that person and go, well, I'm clever enough. I'm not a stupid woman. I've had great jobs. I've, worked in corporate. I've done this, that, and the other, exceeded what I ever thought I could, because I thought I was a bit weird. But then is this it? Is this it? And when you start asking that question, it's how do they then know that you're the person to help them answer that? How do you get that message out so they can see you?
I think it is living by example. I think that, I think that everywhere I am, on any media, or in real life, or I am, that doesn't change. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't, and I think that people, and I've heard so many people have told me, so many people send messages. I know what people think, and it's kind of like, damn, I love that. I love that energy. I want, teach me how to do that. Show me how to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I can teach anyone how to do that. And no one wants to be me really, because like you said, underneath, it's not all that flash,
Especially not with our feet in the bloody water right now, but I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's that illusion, isn't it, that we look at, I want to be like her. But one of the things that I found in business, and I'm sure you found this as well, because with the women, I'm guessing they come to you, whether it's a business idea or it's something else, it's all, their ideas, but it's, how do you get that out to the public, like marketing wise, for example? How do you make sure that the right people can hear the message that need Kerryn's help? I
don't know. It's fluke. It's
no, that is not true. You're telling little porcupines.
I think that most of the people that come to me are local people, and they see me at the Girls with Hammers conference. I'm always the MC. They see me on Instagram, they see me on Facebook. It's they see what I'm doing. They see me in public, and it's to be honest, I'm not that good at marketing. I've struggled to work out my ideal client, and that's not because I don't know how to do it. It's because I keep changing my mind about what I'm selling. I keep changing my mind.
And it's one of the biggest mistakes, isn't it? Because you get known for that and you're flipping over there, and you get known for that, and it's like, and it can confuse your customer. I don't think you're telling the truth when you say I'm no good at marketing, or you wouldn't actually be in business. So nobody would be listening to your podcast. Absolutely. People have an illusion marketing is just all the marketing plans and everything. To me, marketing is everything you do before a sale, like everything, every conversation you have. And I think the one thing that you have absolutely hit on is it's showing up and being consistent.
Yep.
Because, we show up and then you go off the edge of a cliff. Then you come back up again. 2 years ago, I'm getting all my memories on Facebook at the moment. So just over 2 years ago, I went to Ireland and I ran an event in Ireland. So a 4-day event, been a dream of mine. So glad I did it then. And then a 3-day retreat. But I still ran everything from here, laptop lifestyle, I was still able to do, but I wasn't quite on the ground. And I always remember at the time my mentor said, you may lose a bit of momentum. Oh God, but you do, because when you get momentum going, the momentum is going and it keeps you surfing along there, and you have a bit of a dip up and down. But once you get the critical mass going, that's the thing. And you can only do that if you are showing up consistently and you are talking a message that they need to hear.
Yep.
And, that's what it sounds like you're doing. And for me and for you is the same. Not for everybody. And we know the people it's not. But authenticity is one of my high values. And my biggest compliment is when people meet me face to face and go, oh my God, you're the exact same as you are online. It's like, that's a great compliment. But so it sounds like that's yours too.
It is. And I think, you know, when we talk about consistency, the podcast has been great for me because, you know, in that downtime, when I decided to do it, it kept me showing up. You know, it
Yes.
made me accountable every week. So I couldn't fall back off my perch, you know, because I
Yes.
was accountable to all these people.
You know.
Well, I didn't even know who was listening. You know, I still don't
Yeah.
know who's listening, but, you know, I don't care. If one person's
Yeah.
listening, look,
And
I
it
know
makes a
people, I
difference.
know people are listening.
Yeah.
And
Do you know what's fascinating is that we are so accountable to somebody else, and we're not to ourselves. It's like, you know, if people knew the real me, they wouldn't do it. Or if nobody's listening, I just won't bother doing it, and it doesn't matter. And it's what you do when nobody's watching.
Yep.
Is actually the true measure. And, you know, we all do shitty things when nobody's watching. I'm not trying to say anyone's perfect. We all do that. But it's the truth of, like, you know, there's been times where I have like this at the computer, but I still get done what I have to get done. I still keep going, still have the momentum. There's times when you want to go, because I'm not necessarily a sit in front of a computer detail girl, just in case you hadn't realized. But it's part of the business that has to be done. I'd much rather be out having coffee with somebody and talking about how we're going to fix the world.
Yeah.
But you have to have that yin and yang in both. And it's that consistency no matter what. And keeping that light switched on. Because we know we can change something like that with a thought. You can make something real like that with a thought. Your mind doesn't know the difference. It's that we turn off the switch. And that's what we do as mums and things like that. We turn off the switch in order to do this and look after other people. Well, if we keep the light on no matter what, and, you know, we'll get a bit distracted now and again, but once the light's on, it's on.
Yeah.
And that is what makes a huge difference, I believe.
Yeah, massive.
So tell me, I know you've told me some of the stints of despair and the stuff that's got in your way and some of the biggest things that have kind of, I suppose, hardest decisions you've had to make. But what has been for you the number one biggest factor that has helped you to be successful?
Believing in myself.
It's an inside job, isn't that what they say?
It's an inside job.
Yeah.
It's the it's the resilience, you know, it's getting back up, and we all have stints of despair, and we all fall off the perch, and we all want to kill people at times, and we all, you know, we all have down, you know, blocks. But
I'm laughing because that's my saying. People say, what's wrong? I just want to kill people.
Yeah.
That's actually what I say. Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get back up. You know, that's
100%.
Yeah. So I've always, even when I was a kid getting poo-pooed for my ideas, I was still back the next week with another idea. And, you know, I've never stopped having ideas.
There's a resilience. What I'm hearing is an underlying resilience. Okay, yes, that didn't work, I'll go over the hill. That didn't work, I'll go under it. That didn't work, I'll go around it.
Yeah.
And I think that some people have an illusion as well that, they've always been like that. They've always had ideas, or they've always been different. It's like, yeah, but nobody is an overnight success. Show me one person that's an overnight success. I'm sorry, I don't believe in it. Yeah. You know, what was that singer in, I always forget her name. It'll come to me in a second. You remember that singer that was on Britain's Got Talent? Came out of nowhere.
Susan Boyle.
Susan Boyle. That's it. I knew you'd remember. Like, and people go, oh my God, she's an overnight success. She's been singing since she was 4 years of age. She just didn't get in front of the right people.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing. It takes time and effort, but they are skills that can be learned.
Yeah.
So just getting back to when you say marketing wise, so you've got your podcast, you've got your books. What do you think of what the statistics are telling us now, the level of video that needs to come into marketing or awareness or whatever language you want to put on that? What do you think of the use of video in bringing your message out more to the public?
I think it's massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
It's I would do it more. I just don't get the time enough to do it, but I love doing it, and I've got no problems being in front of the camera. I have no problem making the videos, you know, and I often do snappy ones, but I think that, you know, by the time I sit at my computer for half a day, do you know, and I'm doing what I have to do, and I'm editing a podcast, it's kind of like, oh God, I've got no inspiration left. Do you know?
Yeah.
And then I get at nighttime and I think, shit, I should do a video. And I thought, I can't, you know, I've already got my beanie on. I'm already looking like a farmer. You know,
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I don't do it. But I think videos are massive. And the other thing is too, you can really see the person. You can really see. I can't fake it. You know, I'm passionate, and if I'm upset, people see I'm upset. If I'm happy, they say I'm happy. And I wouldn't want that any other way, do you know?
And sometimes, like, there's a lot of versatility in videos where we bring the podcast, because you can do kind of voiceovers and not so much animated, but bring different videos in and blah, blah, and all that sort of thing. I'm playing with video at the moment, and I've been doing it for about 2 or 3 years, 26 hours it took me to make my first ever video. I cried. I actually slobbered like a baby over my computer because my old PC was a bit slow as well. So I had Camtasia and everything open. I had no idea what I was doing. And it has never seen the light of day since I did it, by the way. I did it, got feedback on it, and then it never published it. But it actually got me to start, well, I don't know how to do that, a bit like you. So I want to know how to do that. So let me do it a bit. But it just seems the experts are all telling us now, and not just the live videos, but all kinds of videos. It's just a great way to get the message in. Now, tell me, now this is something I always love to ask my guests.
I feel like I'm on Jeopardy.
There's no right or wrong answer. Okay. Now, I'm always eternally curious as to what are your success habits? What are people's success habits? What do they put into place that are the non-negotiables to keep them going, to keep that certainty of self, Kerryn? Like, while you laugh about it and whatever like that, it actually is an inside job, and we know it takes work. So what are your habits that you have to put in place to keep that success for you afloat?
Well, one of the things is I dance every morning. I do three to six songs every morning, and that's really great for my body and mind.
Yeah,
I don't do the hula, but I could. And then the other thing is too that I have a weekly planner, and I always write in it, you know. And then I'll have big lists, but I always knock off. I say which three, and I do that 3. And once they're done, I'm that now. What are the next 3 things? And that kind of stuff. And you know, I push myself through when I don't want to. I will, but then I'll get to a point where I'm like, no, not doing any more tonight, and I turn off. You know, so. But I also, when you're talking about, I have a big folder. So whenever I do something, for example, this, you know, and you made the little graphic. What I do, I print out the graphic, and then, you know, I shouldn't do that, wasting paper, but I do it. I print it out and I put it into a folder in a plastic sleeve. So every time I do something, and I call it my promo folder, and I never show anybody else except me.
Yeah.
But whenever I start that imposter syndrome and start thinking, oh God, you know, I get that book out and I look through it and I go, no, look at all the freaking great things you've done, and look at all the people who want you, you know, and all the people who are booking you, and all the people who want you to speak on their behalf. So get back at that desk right this minute.
And do it. And you know, look, you know how things happen. I had a conversation this morning, and we were talking about, you know, upskilling and blah, blah, blah. And it was with my mentor, and he said, if you look back at, and we've ran a couple of retreats, the such and such a retreat to now, and I went, oh my God, I've got so many skills now. He said, so what you need to do is get it like that, but put it on your wall as a progress wall. Yeah. Because when you look up and go, oh, I'm stuck, I don't know, it's like, hang on, I've learned video, I've learned this, I've learned editing, I've learned CRM, I've learned that, and now I can do them all quickly. Oh, and it is that external signal to us that we actually, oh, I have grown, because we take it for granted because it goes into that unconscious competence, doesn't it?
It's a mess in there.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I said. I've done some work. I don't know if you've heard of a slide aside about the different cells that we need to develop.
Yeah.
And sometimes I talk about it and people look at me and I'm going, you have no idea what goes on. No, no, no. So much so I did a meditation once, and the only way I could bring it all in was, oh, all my different cells are like the biggest, hugest choir you could ever think of.
Yeah.
And the ego, the aware ego versus the non-aware ego, is the conductor. So it just means that all the voices don't have to sing at the same time. But when it's their turn, they can sing. Because otherwise it's going, oh my God, they're off. Anyway, that's my musing, my little musings there. So thank you for sharing those, because some people have meditation, some have walking, but your movement is dance. And you know, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever works for you to get you up, get you motivated, get you moving, get you inspired. Like, I love doing these. This is part of the reason I created this blog, because I'm talking to inspirational people, and I get off, I have my dose of connection, but I get off going, yes, all right, that was cool. And now I might implement one of those habits or whatever like that. So a couple more questions, no more jeopardy, I promise. And I know you have to go and put your donkeys away.
Yeah,
that sounds like a euphemism.
So they don't swim off the property.
What for somebody that would be coming to you? So one of these ladies predominantly, and I know it's never exclusive to, that are coming to you or thinking about it or stuck in whatever. What is the best advice that you can give?
You know what, my thing with get off the bench or any of that stuff is I want them to get it out of their head and onto paper. That's the very first thing I want to get it out, because once you do that, you've got room in there to think. And once it's on paper, you start looking at it differently and your brain starts to organize it, you know, and says, oh, I could put that there and that there. And then, oh, look at that. We can actually do it. And I always get people to handwrite, because that actually gets your brain into gear.
Kinesthetic.
Yep. And get it moving. But
handwrite without editing. Don't worry about your spelling or your anything, because I used to ooh.
Yeah. And drawing pictures. I get people to draw pictures, you know. There's a bit of reluctance at first. Oh, I can't draw. Oh, who cares? Draw a box, doesn't matter, whatever, just draw, because same thing. Your brain organizes it then to actually, how can we do this? You know, oh, I see you've drawn all this. Right, now what do I have to do to get myself into gear? So your brain does all the, it actually rearranges itself.
Yeah, because it is a thing that if we understand it, you actually do know. Yeah. It's just you don't trust yourself to know.
Yep. And it's too messy. It's messy.
Absolutely. And I'm a doodler. Like when I'm learning something, or I'm either a doodler or I'm an avid note taker, that I very rarely go back to, might I add.
Yeah,
but that movement of me taking the notes, sometimes I'll glance through them and take one or two, but it's already in my head once I actually do the kinesthetic movement of taking the notes.
Yeah.
Or doodle a flower or something. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But you start writing it down. It tells the universe, we're ready. Let's go. Okay. Yeah. This is what our plan is. So, you know, I love this stuff.
Let's start it. I know we could talk for hours. So I have two questions left for you. One is, if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you be doing instead?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know. I don't know. Nothing else comes to mind. Making documentaries. Yeah, making documentaries, because that's on my bucket list. It's a fair way off, and I'm not in any hurry. And you know, here I am, get off the bench, we'll go do it. But no, it's when I want to give it the proper time. So that is going to be
documentaries on animals and wildlife, things like that, or
stories. You know,
stories.
Yeah, telling the untold. You know, and tapping into it.
So if anyone wants to get hold of you, wants to connect with you, wants to get one of your books, anything like that, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Just go to my website, kerrynvaughan.com. So, you know.
Pretty easy. Your name's down here.
Yeah, kerrynvaughan.com. And or find me on Get Off the Bench on Facebook or Instagram, and send me an email, kerrynvaughan@gmail.com. It's pretty simple.
Pretty easy. Just Google Kerryn Vaughan. Because I know you're on LinkedIn and you're also on Facebook as well. Facebook. Facebook as well. So pretty easy to get in contact with you. And do you have anything that's coming up, like workshop wise, or when is your next podcast episode coming out, or anything like that?
Well, my next, they come out every Friday. So the podcast, so it's every week. Nothing, nothing public coming up. I've got stacks of inside workshops, for organizations and that sort of stuff. Doing a lot of team building now, and that was another thing too. That just came out of the blue. People started asking me, "Do you do team building?" I'm like, "Nah, I used to do that years ago. I don't want to do that anymore. I've done that for years." And they're like, "We want you to do our team building." I'm like, so my partner said, "You better start doing team building." People want it. And so I go, I will. So, people just want my energy in their workplace. So
and I can see why, Kerryn, because you have a very contagious energy. I actually started my own career, as in my own business, doing team building and leadership. That's what I actually started doing. And every now and again, somebody will ask me out of the blue, I go, "What?" Bless you. I go, "What?" But it's so important. But when you can get an energy like yours in a room, it is contagious. So it's been amazing being on the call with you today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been wonderful.
It's my absolute pleasure. And just for now, guys, remember, if you're watching this on Facebook, go to YouTube as well. And if you're watching it on YouTube already, subscribe so that you can get more of these interviews, like the one with the lovely Kerryn, and tips and tricks and insights so that you can see how you too can build an amazing business if that's what you choose to do. But for now, it's bye from me.
And bye for me.